There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was the Bully-O-Tea. The winds blew hard, her bow dipped down, oh blow me, bully boys blow. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She hadn't been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Lie-da-da-da-lie-da-da, lie-da-da-da, lie-da-da, lie-da-da-da-lie-da-da, lie-da-lie-da-lie. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up and caught her. All hands to the side harpooned and fought her when she dived down low. Soon may the wellermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Hey, happy Thursday.
There
It
we
is
are.
live Thursday Night Live.
Woo.
And so this is an Irish show? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, apparently it is based on the intro.
The
That
Irish
was an
whiskey's
old
taken
intro that I grabbed. I'm like, hey, we need an Irish theme intro. And it was from an earlier showdown, but hey, it works.
It does work.
It
And
works.
It's Irish whiskey's taking over tonight because tomorrow is
St. Patrick's Day.
right? I mean, why not talk about Irish whiskey? There's a lot to talk about in Irish whiskey. The industry is really actually on the uprise. It's booming. But we got some lists to go through. We've come down with a top 5, I think.
We actually have a couple top 5s
We
and
do
a
have
few
it.
extra lists to go through. We're going to get into that shortly, but we have someone new.
Well, we've got a ton of whiskey, and he actually brought some other whiskeys that we're going to bring out, and we brought him on. This is a relative of mine. This is my wife's nephew, Patrick. He's actually more of a Irish whiskey aficionado as
Yes.
opposed to Scotch. That's where his heart is. He's an Irish lad, so he brought some of his more favorite bottles, I could say, and we're going to talk about them. He
Some
knows
really
a little
good
bit more
bottles.
about Irish whiskey.
That's going to be great.
He helped us out with the list. We kind of talked about it. We've already kind of gotten into a couple of these whiskeys, so we're having fun. But
Yeah,
I know I started off with a Guinness.
I did too.
I think
I
Patrick's
had one at one point, but it was
It's gone
Yeah.
long time ago.
that was
Cheers,
in the
everybody.
pre-show.
Cheers.
So
Thursday.
cheers, happy Thursday, happy St. Patrick's Day to y'all. I hope you all find something good to drink tomorrow.
So here's a good little segue for you, Mark. Where did it go? I just had it and it ran up. Where's that? Tamar.
What does Tom have
Name
to say?
plaques?
There it is. Love the name plaques.
Oh,
Those
Thank you.
fancy things.
how about that? This guy made the name plaques for us. He actually made the sign behind us as well. Got a heck of a woodworking shop, and so yeah, he brought these down for us. We knocked the one over in front of
yeah.
him
Since
because
I
it
was
says
filling in, I didn't
Sean.
want people to get
You're not
confused.
Sean.
Um,
Sean, you got a beard.
But yeah, these are really cool. And, you
Yeah.
know, I hope that somebody on the chat at some point in time that's really not familiar with it asks about them. And really, if you've never really touched a cask stave,
Look at the barrel stave. You can see the liquid line that went through on the edge of the stave.
it's amazing how thick these are. They are so much more fortified than just seeing a barrel. You're like, it's made out of wood. And then you see a stave and you're like, holy shit.
What's amazing though is the smell. Like I smell them
Yeah.
from here. It's like vanilla extract. It's just I love it. It's like
And char.
potpourri.
Oh
It's-
yeah, when I start cutting into those in the wood shop, I do a lot of cutting boards and things where I'm cutting these down into much smaller pieces, and it just overwhelms in the shop.
Yeah.
in a good
Oh.
way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I
great.
want to cut more of this. Well, let's pause for
Oh,
a
look,
second
it's quarter
and
shot.
do as we always do and say hi to a few of the people that have jumped on.
All right.
Andrew, you want to start us off?
Yes, Francois.
Is he
here.
first?
Teamy. Well,
Well, technically, I was first
Oh,
yesterday,
okay.
and then
Good for
Tamar.
got
Francis.
Everly,
But
Richard White, Tamar, Kim's back in. Hello.
D just killed her latest Red Press 27. Jeff says.
Oh,
That's
no.
awesome.
Well, why wouldn't you? I mean, if you got it,
you got it.
it'd be crazy not to drink it. Who else we got here? Steve A's down there with some little bit of red spot. Everwind is some green spot. Man, people have
are
their
doing it. I love it.
people have their Irish.
I love that they
Yes.
play with the theme. great.
Exactly. On the pre-show, Martin had said during the show he's going to do a blind against Blue Spot and Red Breast 12 cask strength. Very curious to see your findings and what
You have to
you
keep
think
us updated as we go
about
along.
that blind, because those are 2 bottles that I think will go head to head.
So we got Cohen and Steven Rogers and Nick, Mystery Girl. Who else we got? in there?
Kaplan.
Hey,
Wesley's
Cap.
in too. That's interesting.
Wesley,
Oh,
really?
really?
Both of them at the same time.
I hope he went out and got himself an Irish whiskey for tonight. I told him yesterday.
Mhm.
Who else we got? Sean and Stuff for Work. It's Shanty Day. Yes, it is Shanty time.
It is.
Who else we got?
Zach Andrews. Good to
Paul
see him
M,
back.
Bobby.
He's feeling good.
Chad. Man, that's a
We got quite a few on tonight, gentlemen.
rolls. Jonathan.
Jonathan Hayes. What's
Hey,
up, buddy?
Peter.
Good to see you, Peter. Jeff Timmy's on again. He's still awake. That's great.
All right.
Man, we're sliding through there. All right.
All right. So thank you. What by the way, what's everyone drinking tonight so far? I would assume I'm gonna say a lot of them drinking Irish. What do you
I
think?
hope.
Yeah,
they
well,
are.
a lot of them have already put their names in. So if you're watching this live, or you can go back to the comments, there's a wide range of people that are drinking a lot of spots, a lot of
Red Breasts.
yeah, makes sense.
And I understand if people are just kind of warming up. They got a long day tomorrow. Hopefully, they got a long day of drinking. I get
Yeah,
that.
tomorrow's
We got a long
more fun.
night of drinking tonight.
We do,
still, so-
right?
If
We
you're,
actually,
if you're driving in the car and you're listening to this on the podcast, go ahead and open up a bottle, open up a Guinness, and oh wait, you're not supposed to do that.
yeah.
Well, you
Okay,
can.
So
but-
maybe you shouldn't do that, but when you get to where you're going, then open your Guinness or
Right.
your bottle of Powers or Jameson or whatever.
So we're going to get into a top 5 list. And then we're going to have a good conversation about Irish whiskey. We're going to start off. Andrew's got some basic information that kind of sets the tone for what Irish whiskey is, what sets it apart.
Okay.
We'll get into this list. And then we're going to have a good conversation about the industry, about Irish whiskey. Let Patrick kind of talk us through some of the bottles that he's got and some of the
He's got some
interesting
really good
things and-
bottles
and
down there.
his
Ooh.
experiences and kind of what he stumbled on. It was really fun during the pre-show for the patrons. One of the patrons pulled a couple, actually a few of them pulled some bottles out. And I could see already, I was like, I should have warned him that this is going to cost him, because now he's going to go and search for some other
Yes.
bottles.
Yeah.
But I
The problem
get
is
it.
finding them.
Finding
there's
them.
so many of the bottles that I know I want, and I just can't even get my hands on anywhere.
Mhm.
Really?
You got to go. You got to go
So,
to the motherland.
Is it as bad? It's not as bad as bourbons, though, right? I mean, bourbon, the secondary market in bourbon is crazy.
Oh, there's a few of them.
Okay.
Because we got a couple bottles. Well, I got at least one bottle over here it was a couple $100s when I bought it. It's a couple $1,000s now if
Yeah.
you can even find it.
Wow.
Brown
That's
spirits
crazy.
in
I
general.
think I
are
was just gonna say
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
they're just on the
Yeah,
like,
most of them are going up crazy right now.
All right. So, according to the Irish Whiskey Act of 1980,
of 1980.
yes,
That's not that long.
no,
ago.
it's not. They actually defined what is considered an Irish whiskey, and
So that was
admittedly,
after the revival.
well, it's in that era. I mean, when it's starting to blow up again.
Right.
My guess is distillers were starting to go, and the Irish government said, "Hey, no, you're not an Irish whiskey when you buy it from Canada and put an Irish label on it." So they made some rules on it. What did I miss?
Oh,
That's
just
just a
D was
comment.
on there
All
talking
right.
about red breast.
So first and foremost, must be made from a mash of malted barley plus other cereal grains are optional.
Like
So-
Lucky Charms.
They can be what
So we
That-
can have a single malt Irish whiskey.
you can, but they're really the only rule is it's got to have some barley in it. It
Not
can
a
be
certain
any
percentage?
mash grain. It can be corn. It can be wheat. It can, to be an Irish whiskey, it can be whatever grain quantity you want,
Okay.
but as long as there's some malted barley in there.
Okay.
So it's pretty loose on the mash bill. So that gives them some ability to, but it's got to be cereal grain. It can't be potatoes. So it's no vodkas, but Irish whiskey.
Potato a grain?
No,
We do love our potatoes, though.
exactly.
I was
That's what
gonna
I'm
say,
saying.
why
So
you
you can make a
stop
vodka,
with
but,
Irish
but you can't make it a
potatoes?
whiskey. All right. It must be mashed, fermented, distilled to no more than 94.8% ABV, matured in wooden casks, such as oak, but it doesn't need to be oak. It can be whatever wooden cask they put it in.
Any wood.
Any wooden cask.
Well, that's kind of strange.
Not exceeding 700 liters for a minimum of 3 years in the Republic of Ireland and or Northern Ireland.
Okay.
So
fair.
Irish whiskeys are allowed for the entire island, no matter
Sure.
regardless of country. So, all right, not contain additives other than water and caramel coloring.
So
So,
it can have E150.
but that's it. No flavorings, no additives, no anything like that. And one thing, this is an interesting characteristic here: retain the characteristics of its raw materials. In other words,
That's
smell and taste like whiskey.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
well,
was that? I mean,
but what does it talk about? Like finishing? Can they finish in really strange
No
barrels?
rules.
So okay, because this really seems a lot looser than Scotch.
It is. It is because it's any barrel, any wooden barrel, no bigger than 700 liters. Essentially any grain, as long as malted barley is part of it. There's no rules on how many distilled. It doesn't need to be triple distilled to be an Irish. It doesn't need to be double distilled. It can be grain whiskey. It can be malt whiskey. It can be, and they've got all this. They have similar discussions with single malts and single pot stills and malted, grains, single grains, all those similar kind of descriptors.
Let me ask you this: what different kinds of Irish whiskey can you have? So in the world of Scotch, there's 5, right? We have single malt, single grain, blended malt, blended grain, and blended.
Looks
Patrick
like
and I had a conversation about this, and I'm curious to see what you found.
it looks like I might have lost that page, but they've got so you've got a single pot still, which is like one distillery, but pot still. There's grain Irish whiskeys, which can be anything, any mash bill, any still shape. They do have a single malt.
They have blended too, so we've got some bottles. Here
Yes,
that
they
say
blended. They got blended whiskey, which is the same rule as
Okay.
Scottish. They also have a blended. So single malt and blended malt also have to be pot stilled. So that's a unique characteristic that I think is similar to
Scotch. Yeah, 'cause
similar to
if it goes
Scotch.
if it goes to a column still, it's not.
It's not a single malt. So it's similar from the naming category. I think it's very similar to Scotch.
Well, I'm very curious to see if these tighten up at all now that and we'll talk about it here in a few minutes about the industry and the boom that it's going through. If it doesn't, it's kind of cool for the experimentation things that we're going to find. You might come out with some really weird Irish whiskeys that are outside of what you would expect because the rules are a little bit more loose.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if they change these rules much because, I mean, ultimately, when you define an Irish whiskey, you typically think of a lighter spirit. And so the ability to add corn and wheat and other grains in there, it makes sense because it creates a light distillate.
So, Drew, let's talk about this top 5 and what's this top 5 defined?
Well, we've got a couple lists tonight, but the first one I think really needs to be defined by something you can find on the shelf today. I mean, there's obviously, we all know, just like Scotch and even bourbons, there are some out there that are like, ooh, what's your choice? Well, my choice is different. This has to be on the shelf, readily available for the most part, right? So this top 5 basically is kind of something we all talked about earlier on, and like these are things that you can find and buy. And I think I have a list here.
Well, you're celebrating St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
I mean, this first list we were looking at was your entry level Irish whiskeys that you were going to find during your pub crawl.
Yeah,
that's correct.
You're going pub crawling tomorrow. You got to have some Irish whiskey. Here's 5 that
any Irish bar will have all of these.
Any good Irish bar will have all of them.
Even do you have to be maybe.
Definitely,
any good Irish bar will definitely have all of these. Most Irish bars will have most of these. So yeah.
So the first one we talked about tonight, which I think is probably a good guess for most people, is Jameson, right? And, and it's a staple for pretty much every Irish car bomb.
Yeah, I mean, you say Irish whiskey, and Jameson is the first thing to come to mind.
Absolutely, right?
I have Jameson up here. You got
Jameson?
I do have a Jameson, and it's right here, actually.
Yeah.
This is the black barrel.
Right. That is my first grab if I'm going.
That's your everyday drinker.
That is my everyday. I have 5 of those in my house.
5, really?
So why do you choose that? What is about that as opposed to other Jameson or anything else?
I mean, I cannot get into the level of detail you guys usually go to, but I used to drink just the standard everyday normal entry level Jameson, but then I started getting into this one, and it just took over.
It's got a lot more flavor, a lot more. I mean, it tastes better.
I think part of this one was trying to appeal to the bourbon crowd. Because I've converted a couple of bourbon drinkers over to Irish, or opening them up to Irish at least, by introducing them to this one. It's got a fuller flavor, in my opinion, and it comes in a little more in that bourbon category.
Okay. Makes sense.
I think it's a much more fuller palate than the regular Jameson. And I mean, the price point on that Jameson that we put on the list, though, is just a standard Jameson offering, which is what, like something like $24, $25, something like that. I mean, you're going to find it on every flight, every hotel, every liquor store, every bar.
It's the red label of
really
Irish whiskey, probably. It's common everywhere you go. Grocery stores to any liquor store, everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So we all agreed that was probably our number five. Number four was Tullamore Dew. Around the same price.
Yeah.
I actually
20
like
bucks.
Tullamore Dew more than Jameson. We gave a bottle
I
of
agree.
Tullamore Dew away at our wedding 20 some odd years ago or whatever it was. But yeah, I think it just is a little bit more fuller bodied. It's got a little bit more. I find Jameson to be really thin, but yeah, Tullamore Dew is the
That's
same
powers?
price point, and it's really good. Didn't you say it's one of the oldest distilleries in Ireland?
I think Tullamore Dew is, yeah, it's definitely one of the older names. And a couple years ago, they started doing the old ceramic bottle too that you can get it in.
Right. So it's a little round bottle with a little handle.
Yeah, it's got a
right?
little jug handle on it and a pour
Yeah.
spout.
You hear me talking his language now.
Yep.
Still
Just-
same price point. They might
No,
charge
it's a
another
jug,
dollar or
it's
two
ceramic
for
jug.
the bottle.
That's
But
more expensive than glass.
That's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an extra $10 if you want to get it in the ceramic jug instead of the glass bottle. But it's kind of a fun little throwback.
Yeah, kind of in that same price point as the Powers Gold Label. Just poured a glass for him.
It's actually
It's a
delicious.
really easy drinking. It's got good flavor. There is grain in it, but it doesn't taste grain forward at all.
one
It's
thing
actually really
to
tasty.
point out about that, and Patrick pointed this out to me at the liquor store. They just changed their bottles, didn't they?
Yeah, in the last couple of years, they changed their branding, their logos. They went to this and they went to this shorter bottle with the little neck on it
As
instead
opposed to a standard kind of a long neck bottle like
Right.
this Jameson.
Yeah.
Yeah, because both these and Jameson both come out of the Middleton's distillery, and I think they were just trying to figure out a way to stand apart a little bit.
Yeah, I hope we can get into that conversation later on about Jameson's distillery, because they remind me so much more of a bourbon distillery. There's a lot of labels that come out of there, but we'll talk about it. Number 3.
So those were kind of the cheaper bottles, right? We're talking about $20, $25. And now, question: when you're in your pub crawl, what are those going to cost you for like a glass?
So I want to get a pour of Powers or a pour of Jameson.
I think those are probably going to be the ones you're getting mixed. You're getting a Jameson's and Coke or a car bomb.
You're not
or
drinking it by
something.
you're
So
not
like
drinking-
$7 or $8, give or take, or
Yeah.
is that?
I would say that's probably fair.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
$8
Yeah.
or less.
Okay, so now we're moving up a little bit in price, and we're talking more like $50
A
We're
bottle.
talking- and this is Teeling. And Teeling is another bottle that's pretty much everywhere. And I'm not a Teeling expert, but I've seen different variations, right? They have quite a bit.
So Teeling's actually, if you really get down into it, they have a lot. They have some very old age statements. I think they have 30 plus years.
We had a
statements in
30
their
plus
lineup.
one at Jeff Teamy's house.
Oh, yeah.
It was phenomenal. I'm trying to hold my not speak any French here on the show, but it was really good. And I mean, he opened it just like it was an everyday, like, hey, I got friends over, we're going to drink this thing. And it was
30-year-old tea.
I want to say it was
Ah.
38 or something. Jeff put it in the comment. It was old. It was awesome. He was walking around with that bottle with a big smile, and everybody had a glass. It's good.
Now, that's something you're probably going to have neat in the pub crawl versus mixed, I would think.
Yeah.
Right? More appreciation for that kind of
Yeah,
whiskey.
I mean, some people might still mix that one, but I think that one is where you're starting to the point
That's on
where
the
you're
bubble.
getting it with on the rocks or just neat.
So you're starting off your call, right? This is at 8:00 in the morning, and you're starting with
Yeah,
gin.
those breakfast car bombs.
This
you
is
know?
car bombs,
The
right? You're doing
breakfast
car
car
bombs
bombs.
with Jameson in the sidecar or whatever you're doing.
A sidecar.
and then you're getting in the, hey, that's just upper game, get the Tullamore Dews, right? And then so now this is noon. Now we're like, hey, okay, well, let's slow
Wait a minute,
down.
you're sort of you're half drunk. You don't want to spend money when you're too far gone.
That's right. You're probably
But
had
that's
lunch a
when
little
you're
bit.
more willing
Let me
to.
ease back into it. You've had Tullamore Dew now neat. You're sipping it. It's great, right? All right, now we're past that point. We're into the kind of the long haul, if you will, and we've been drinking for a while. We need upper game.
This is
Well,
when
see,
this is
wait
when
a
the
minute.
whiskey drinkers
So
come out.
I would say this is where you're taking an Irish girl out on a date,
I don't know where this is going to go.
and you want to show off. So you start to
Oh,
buy some
okay.
of these nicer whiskeys.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough. So
Her father's still not going to like you.
Well, maybe not.
Depends on which bottle you show up at the house with.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm thinking.
that's a good point.
All right. So
So you're in your next level of your pub crawl, and you're impressing your friend here, if
your
you
Irish
will.
friend, yeah.
But you want to pour something nice and something with low substance. But we're also getting up into a bottle price range from, we were in, I would say, kind of the 30s, 50s. Now we're in the 60s plus, and we're gonna go with Green Spot, which you can't go wrong with Green Spot.
No, not at all.
No, I mean, when you want to talk about spots, you can obviously get better than Green Spot, but I think the standard offering of Green Spot is solid.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, for the entry level into that brand that it's a very solid choice.
Now, just to point out, there are several different special one-offs of Green Spot, right? Special finishings or maturations. And so we're just talking about the standard Green Spot.
Well, yeah. So what about Green Spot makes it better than what we've already talked about? Is it?
It's just gooder.
Boom.
No, I mean, are you
Bingo.
expecting depth of palate? Is there more barrel influence? Is the distillate cleaner? What do we know? What's different about the spots versus the others?
Yeah, I think I'm not an expert in this area, but I've had enough of them
You're
to say
dummy.
it's
All right.
I'm a dummy. I just feel like it's a nice, clean. Like when I think of what Irish whiskey is to me, I feel like the Green Spot is like that's more substance, a little bit more maybe malty is the word that comes to mind on that one. I don't know if you guys got some preference in that. That's
are
what I
the
go
spots
to.
are they malt or are they still blended? Do you know?
Well, that's a grand question.
Do we have any spots over here? Yeah, we got
I got
a
Green Spot right here.
I got a
Actually, let me
green-
pull this out because
Green
that's
Spot.
on my list right there.
There you go. Green Spot.
Single pot still.
Don't ask Drew to read. It doesn't have glasses on.
What?
And Steve A in the comments did mention this earlier that single pot stilled that there is a requirement to be at least 30% malted barley,
Okay.
30% unmalted barley, and the rest is a blend is mixture.
Perfect.
So
Good info.
it is primarily barley, but there can be a little bit of other grain in there. But
Right. So 30 malted, 30 unmalted.
minimum 30 of each,
Okay.
and then up
Okay.
to 6% other grains. So
Okay.
you can make that.
So to me,
So,
I think
so Green Spot is a single pot stilled Irish
Well, so
whiskey.
Steve's saying all spots are single pot.
Okay, good.
Okay.
yeah. So to me, when I think of like, I love all the spots so far. Right? We've got red, blue, green, yellow. That's it.
And then the specialized greens.
So,
Yeah.
but to me though, like obviously we're Scotch fanatics, but like I don't know, when we first started doing Irish whiskeys in these spots, like the green was just like a solid, like, oh, this is Irish whiskey to me.
I'll tell you though,
this is a very good compromise to me. from
They
Scotch.
did seem like they came in at a higher price point than their brothers at the same level, right? So like the Green Spot, I think is 10, isn't it? 10 years old?
I don't know if there's an age statement on that.
Well, they are.
I think it is. I think
it's
green's
10.
10, yellow's 12, red's 15, blue is 7, gold is 9.
That sounds about right.
I don't
That's
know if
a
I'm
pretty
a
good
bet man,
guess.
I'm
Well,
putting
we're
my
gonna
money
find
on
out in the chat here. Chat, let us know.
Yeah,
for
see,
sure.
there's a lot of good stuff coming in on the chat. So Stuff at Work talks about Green Spot is clean and sweet with a lot of pineapple and related fruit. So you're getting more of that fruity, rich fruit flavor coming through.
Pass it over here. What the hell? I'll find out.
Yeah, open that guy up.
And then Tom R asked that we talk through why they use
You know, put a little
malted and
malt here.
unmalted barley.
That's a very, very good question because I'm not familiar with unmalted barley. To me, that's just
because-
why would you do that?
Because they tax malted barley.
So it's all about the money.
It's always about the money.
So if you use unmalted barley, you get most of the flavor. In fact, really all of the flavor, but you don't have to pay the tax. The tax is different. So
Damn
there's
tax man.
if you look back into the history of the excise tax on whiskey and what distillers have done, it's a whole story that we probably need to call Dr. Scotch in for another time
Ooh,
to talk
that's a good
through.
idea.
That is,
I want
a
to come
whole-
back for that show.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I want to pause for a second and talk about Martin's comments here. So we talked about it earlier. He's
Yeah.
blinding the Blue Spot and the Redbreast 12 cast strength. So on the nose, he says sample A has more bourbon cast notes, sweet nose, honey, caramel, light sherry nuttiness, and sample B has more sherry notes, red fruits, and older smell dusky. So based on those statements, any guesses?
B is Redbreast
Okay, why you say that?
because it has it.
I think
So
because
the
of sherry
the
notes.
spots tend to be lighter and that honey caramel light sherry, whereas the Redbreast, I tend to think of more
No, these
full
are both
body
cast
whiskey.
strength though.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but
Okay.
that doesn't. It's because they're both cast strength. That
The-
tells me that it's not just the weight
I-
of the whiskey; it's the distillate.
Blue Spot definitely is a more calmer. Whiskey.
My remembrance of
That's my view. Though. We'll see.
Redbreast 12 is definitely the more red fruit sherry.
Yeah,
one of
I
the
think
two.
you're right in
Agreed.
that. I think you're right in that. So, well, interested to see what you follow up with that, Martin.
So number 2.
That was number 2. Number 1,
Oh,
we're already
yeah,
there.
yeah, you're right.
No, we don't
Drum roll,
actually
please.
have this bottle. We have the distiller or the category. This is Redbreast cask strength. But we
Shit,
said
I just poured the green spot.
I know, but we're
Oh,
our number
so
one is
sad.
Redbreast 12, which is something you can find everywhere.
So this
in liquor stores.
This is 12.
This
That's
is
the
the
cask
cast
strength.
strength one, right?
Well, yeah.
So,
So we might as well just say cask strength.
Well, look at that.
so you're on your pub crawl, right? Tomorrow,
Is it
you're
open?
out having
Oh,
a
it's
great
not open.
time, and you know, first of all, if you run across the
Okay.
Redbreast 12, the non-cast strength version, it's lovely. It's honestly, it could have filled in here for this,
For sure.
but when we were at the liquor store, they had both the Redbreast 12 and the cast strength version, and Drew and I were like,
Why
the cast strength
bother?
is all day
We-
better. It's
just give us that one.
there's more whiskey in your whiskey. That's really what it is. I mean, it really is a
And it's
good
the same
strength.
price, right?
I think it's
No.
it was $10 more for the cast strength yesterday.
So what is this? So this is like $65, $70.
The cast strength one, yeah.
57.
No, that's the non.
This
cast
is
strength.
yeah,
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, the cast strength was $10 more.
So just a repeat of the rundown of our top 5 whiskeys you basically to drink on St. Patrick's Day, which is common everywhere. Number 5, Jameson. Number 4, Tullamore. Number 3, Teeling. Number 2, Green Spot, and number 1, Redbreast 12. Or
Now, if you
cask
get
strength.
through those, all right, on your pub crawl and things are going well, at this point
Yeah,
in
you gotta
time,
have one of each of those first.
you need to take
gotta
the
have
time
one of
out,
each.
get a little cabbage,
Drink some water in
Right.
between.
Some corned beef,
corned
stay
beef,
some
hydrated.
potatoes,
do what you
something
need
to
to
fill
do.
the belly, absorb the liquor.
bottle
Yeah.
of water or two, get your second wind, and come back for the next list. But let's talk about the industry. Let's talk about Patrick and
Yeah.
where he's come in his Irish experience, right? Your journey. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many years you've been drinking Irish whiskey.
More than I can admit to on this podcast.
It's your dad can't.
I think you're past that point.
You're
You're
old
good.
enough. You've been drinking Irish whiskey for a while.
Yeah, I really got into it in college. I mean, I'm Irish by blood.
O'Brien, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
It's in there, and you know, it was Grandpa's drink of choice. And,
Oh,
Which
yeah.
I did buy a bottle of that.
yes,
that?
I mean,
What did he drink?
Grandpa's. I mean, his go-to was Bushmills, but his preference when he could get a hold of it was Patty's.
Patties.
So I remember when we were going to Ireland on our honeymoon, I asked my wife's dad, Grandpa Patrick, "What is there anything you need me to bring you home from the motherland?" And he said, "Well, if you can find a bottle of Patties, I'd appreciate it," because he couldn't get it at that
Yeah,
time.
you can't-
And so we brought a bottle of Patties home for him. I'm sure it made Grandma mad. But nevertheless, I bought this bottle tonight. It's unopened. I bought it in honor of him. I'm sure I'll
Locally?
have a dram of it. Yeah, it's now you can
Oh,
buy
wow.
it in
Okay, cool.
liquor stores. But yeah,
I mean, there were multiple versions of it too. They started
Yeah.
getting in a couple different flavors. I think there was an apple and maybe a cinnamon when we were there earlier. I didn't see any other age statements, but they did start getting into
Flavored.
yeah.
So those were an Irish whiskey then because they're flavored.
Well,
I'm sure there's. We're
Interesting.
not getting into the rules enough.
yeah, I mean, Jameson's has started releasing a lot of different flavors.
Yeah,
as
they got
well.
orange.
They've started.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
just
true.
Orange is the new one. They got a coffee one, and I had a bottle of that. Probably about 2 years ago, we opened that one up, and you could actually see coffee grounds floating in that one when we were pouring it out.
Weird.
Wow.
They've partnered up with a number of beer companies, brewers to do some different flavor profiles with them as well. So, I mean, they have some regional ones that you can only pick up in certain parts of the United States as well. I don't have the one from Washington. I think it's Rebels.
Interesting.
Somebody in the chat, I'm sure, can answer that question. But I try to keep up on all of them, even though I don't necessarily enjoy all of them. I prefer my whiskey to taste like whiskey instead of some of the other things that a lot of people are doing here.
I would agree. Yeah, I the flavored whiskeys have really become popular. You know, it started with Fireball, but now that everything's apple and orange and lime and you know all those
But
flavored whiskeys now.
from conversation with Patrick, it's to the purest degree where you're not really fond of like sherry matured whiskey. Or,
Oh,
No,
okay.
I mean,
you
it's
really just want a good old fashioned ex bourbon matured. You want to taste your whiskey.
right. That's where I'm at with it. I like whiskey to taste like whiskey. I mean, I know there's a lot of push into the sherries and some of the other wine barrel finishes that it's just not my wheelhouse. So
Yeah,
Nothing
fair.
wrong with that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's fair. So over your journey, you've amassed a little bit of a collection. You've tasted some whiskeys that are hard to find or easy to find. You've got a pretty good little show at your house. I enjoy, and it's fun because we do stay in contact. If I run into an Irish whiskey that I think that he might be interested in, that's a little bit hard to find, I'm texting him, and he's usually quick to respond. Yeah, pick it up. Okay, I know he's good for it.
Something tells me that's probably a normal.
I honestly think I could pick it up without asking,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, "Hey, Patrick, I got this for you." All right, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I work construction. I travel a lot, so I pick up a number of different things all over the country as well for different people I know.
Right.
And
That's fun.
yeah,
I mean, that's one of the cool things. I'm going on vacation next
Getting this
week, and
community.
so it's just going to different places and looking for those dusties, looking for those places that may have something you don't have, or calling your friend that says, "Hey, I know you like this. I see a bottle of this. Do you want it?" I mean, that's kind of a fun part about our journey.
It is. And since he's driving all over the country, I remember when the Game of Thrones series coming out.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
texting us
That's
all the
right.
time. Hey, I'm in a liquor store in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, and they've got these
The whole
series.
set.
Do you want them?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I got one
yeah.
from you.
I think you have a set.
I have a set from him. Yeah.
well, I think I've got the that gold bottle. I think it's the 7 Three-Eyed Raven or whatever. The
Yeah,
last one
it's,
that I don't know that
Oh.
any of you guys have.
Yeah.
No,
have
I
that
don't.
one.
I don't have it. It's I can't even think of the name of the distillery now. It starts with an M. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But
Mortlock.
Mortlock. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Mortlock 14, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. I don't have that one. But yeah, I'm curious to know. So you're a guy that's more traditionalist in the realm of your whiskey, but the way that the industry in Scotland and Ireland is going is it's booming. I mean, traditionally there's been how many distilleries for the last I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, I think prohibition in the United States and then separation of Ireland from Great Britain killed the Irish whiskey industry. I mean, they got to the point where they couldn't ship anything to the United States, and then they couldn't ship anything to Great Britain and Great Britain was 25% of the trade in the world at that point. So it really killed the industry, and it got down to Jameson's, Bushmills, Tullamore Dew, a
Middleton.
handful of others. Yeah, I think Middleton.
Barely, and they were little ones.
Yeah, and at a certain point, they all merged into the Irish Distillers League.
Yes.
And now, over the last few years, I mean, we're starting to see a bunch of random small labels starting to pop back.
And they're popping up everywhere.
Fast.
And I mean, we touched on a little bit earlier. Middleton's distillery has 8 labels coming out of it, at least that I can think of. off the
But
top of my
even
head.
Middleton's is Jameson.
Yeah, I mean, they have Jameson, they have Middleton's, they're making the Powers, they're making the Writer's Tears,
The spots.
the Spot series,
Redbreast.
Redbreast.
Who's doing the proper 12?
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I think that's Bushmills, isn't it?
That to
I
me
hope
is
not.
the-
I
Bushmills is-
respect
I don't know if
Bushmills, but
anybody's
if they're doing
claiming that.
proper 12,
No, they.
that's the White Walker of Irish.
I was
whiskey.
just going to say the exact same thing. We're gonna get booted for that, but yeah,
I'm
it's
probably
it's,
gonna get my
it's
butt
horrible.
kicked by Mr.
Yeah,
McGregor.
he's gonna kick our butts, but
I
that's,
mean, we have a whole
terrible.
series of bottles up here, but I mean, I've got a number of bottles off camera here that things that have started popping up. We got the Fighting 69th, which ties into all the way back to the Civil War. There was an Irish brigade of the army that was
I've
fighting
heard of them.
69.
So it's an American regiment, but they're making an Irish
Mhm.
whiskey.
It was an Irish regiment to an
American
American Revolution.
cause.
Oh,
Right.
that's
That's
Cool.
cool.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
they tied back
Interesting.
into it, and I can't figure. We have a list over there. There's a couple of these bottles where they claim to be Irish whiskey, but I can't figure out exactly where they were distilled. We got this Dempsey's whiskey here, which is on the entry level, which is a new bottle. It was something I saw and decided to
Twice
grab
distilled.
hold of it.
Yeah.
But it's genuine Irish spirit of the finest quality.
Blended, twice distilled.
Exactly.
I thought-
I think this bottle's already out. We got the Quiet Man, which was something that it was a random grab for me. I actually really like this one. I grabbed a bottle. I drank it probably faster than I should have, and then bought another one. So-
What's that mean? Come on.
but I mean, really, the number of different labels that you were seeing. I mean, 10 years ago, you had Jameson's and Bushmills and a couple of others that were staples, and then over the last 3-4 years, they've really started branching out and getting a lot of new labels on the market.
Amazing.
I heard a stat that over the last 2 years, it's been exploding by about 300% per year.
Oh,
That's nuts.
yep.
Well, there's a ton of them out there. I looked at the map and just did a straight Google search for Irish distilleries, and there were way more distilleries than I thought would find, right? And some of the little bitty pinpoints on it were, distilleries to be open next year or next year. They're all in the making. And so it really reminded me of the craft brewery industry in the United States.
Well, and craft spirits too. Yeah.
15, 20 years. Yeah. Even now,
Craft spirits now are blowing up too. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people are really trying to get into the game. And in the Irish world, I'm very curious to see where they go with it, because they do have a little bit more leeway, a little bit more play with the rules, to see where we get. But it's been an interesting journey. And Irish has always caught me off guard with Jameson, because to me, Jameson is the bourbon of Irish, in the fact that I go to a liquor store and I see 30 bourbons on a shelf. 25 of them came out of the same distillery. I wouldn't know any better. I just know the brands. I just know the labels. Well, in the Irish world, Middleton's, you just named them all. All of these are.
Well, yeah, Irish Distillers has Middleton
but that doesn't equate anything, man. I'm not educated, so I don't know I wouldn't know that a Jameson and a Redbreast right next to it may have came out of the same distillery. I don't know.
Well, and if they come out of the same distillery, that doesn't mean they necessarily have the same mash bill or the same cuts or all those kind of things, which again, with Irish, I don't know how much.
Something that Middleton's started doing, which I've never been able to get a hold of a bottle, is their Method in Madness. It's a small, it's a couple barrels at a time where they're trying out old they're pulling old of the master distillers' journals out and doing recipes that are 200 and 300 years old.
Oh, cool.
And then they're trying new things, and maybe some of them go into one of their major lines, or it's a limited run on all these.
Man, wouldn't it be awesome to get one of those 200-year-old recipes, though, just to try and see what they were
if you could only find the barley that they used 200 years ago.
Well,
there's probably some changes there. But.
Synthetic.
Completely different.
And the yeast and stuff. I get it, but nevertheless, it still would be pretty cool. It's like that Shackleton's bottle, right? I mean, just to maybe get a glimpse into it.
Chemistry.
It's
better living through chemistry.
So we've got another list though that we want to talk about, and it was the next level list, right? So
this is an interesting list, because this is your list. You can't help pick us one. It's the I can't say no top 5. So this is the way we were talking about earlier, and you were like, all right, so this is you're in a pub crawl, right? This is whatever time of day, but you see this on the bar, and you're like, I gotta have a glass.
Yeah, you hit a really good Irish bar at this point.
Yeah, yes, really nice one.
So this is stuff that you may not be able to buy or find, or if you do, it's going to cost you some money. So these drinks are going to be fairly expensive, but these are damn good drinks.
Well, then I need to start off with one of them. Do we have any of them in our possession? Do we have any of them?
We have quite a few in our possession.
What?
Because if we have any of them in our possession, I'm going to pour one.
We have 2 in our possession. It depends on what.
Let's see what comes up on the list.
So the first one, why don't you talk about this first one? It's the Jameson Bow Street.
Yes.
The Bow Street 18. So I'm not quite sure I understand what it means when he says Bow. Why does that? Why do I care about that when you say Bow Street? Oh, Bow Street. No.
So a couple of years ago, Jameson's re-released their 18 year. They rebranded. I believe it was the gold label originally, and then they came back out and they got rid of the gold label, and they went to this just age statement of an 18 year. So they did the Jameson's 18 year, which is 18 year in Middleton's. And then they did the Bow Street, which came out as a cask strength. But in addition to that, they went back to the original Jameson's distillery in Dublin, and they started putting them back in storage there. And they shut down the original distillery because so much of the storage for the original distillery was out under the streets where people walk.
So they had safe.
Yeah, they had a bomb built under the roads, basically. So like, hey, let's
big
stop
flammable,
doing
that. Not smart.
So
what a way to go.
I don't know that they're still making this bottle. Somebody can probably weigh in and tell you more about it, but we tried a few earlier. Yes,
it's really good.
I can tell you that I've never had it before, and I was pretty much blown away because you said this is just ex-bourbon, right?
Yeah, there's no finishing on this. This is just ex-bourbon cask.
I'm telling you, it tasted like it was matured in something else, because it was the vanilla, the honey, the caramel. But I also it felt like I had some like sherry or something else going on. I don't remember now, but it was rich. It was delicious.
So that's a standard Jameson distillate. aged in a different location and potentially different barrels than their typical?
I think it was
Plus
just
it's
standard barrels. They just moved them back to
Expert.
the original distillery to let them age there.
And bottled at cast strength.
So 18 years in that old place, or just a certain amount of the time?
I believe it's full time, 18 years at the original distillery.
Interesting.
And
Let's pause for a second and say thank you to DBSG.
I don't have a pour to
I don't
toast
either.
her, so
It's been a while. Happy to be back. Looking forward
So
to
you're saying we should wait? Yeah.
working back to my Thursday. We're going to cheers you again
Here,
in a second.
Proper 12.
But thank
No.
you for that. No, proper 12.
I'm not doing that. I'm
All
gonna
right.
wait until the next one where I can pour some because I already had one of these and I'm not killing Patrick's bottle. But this Bow Street
that
18 really is
Top
it's-
tray. Is it
it's
like
amazing.
information?
So
on
that-
it?
no, that's just a little. It's
Package.
helped to hold the.
Oh,
bottle
it's a
up.
spacer. Okay. Yeah.
So let's talk about this real quickly. So this is probably around $250 if you can find it today on the shelf, right? I think it's what we said it was.
Yeah, I think it
if
was
you
right in
can
that
find
range.
it.
If you can find it. Is it really hard to find?
I've had this bottle for a couple of years. I've not looked for another one. I can't say for sure.
But
That
if
is
you
a-
find it in the
That is
bar,
a really cool.
you
But
need
how
to
much
get
how
in the
much you
box.
paying for glass at the bar? $30?
Probably somewhere in the low 20s if they
oh,
have it.
low 20. I'd say more than that. If it's a $250 bottle, you're probably paying $40 a
But
glass.
To our point, if you find it in a bar and you see it, like I'm having
It's
a
worth
dram of
getting.
that, it's worth
Definitely
getting.
just something
Kid.
you want to try if you have the opportunity.
It's hard to
Absolutely.
find and worth the time. Yeah.
All right, next one on the list. This one I like it a lot. I think it's mixed feelings for most people, but it's Blue Spot, which we mentioned Green Spot earlier, which is normal. Blue Spot,
Do we have one of those?
no,
Not in front of us.
not in front of us.
Wait, Blue Spot. That's
He's lying.
It's somewhere else hiding. But yes, Blue Spot. We've done a review on that one. It's delicious. It to me,
There was dispute on this list.
I know.
The gold and the blue were neck and neck.
They are both very good bottles.
they're both
Yes.
very good bottles. I feel like the Blue Spot.
Blue
to
Spot's
me
the
is
youngest,
just-
though, right?
7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But it's cat strength, right?
it is.
I think it
Yeah.
is.
I
Yeah.
think gold is.
It's young, but it's cat
gold
strength.
is too, isn't it? Or gold. It's
So
right
this
there.
is
I don't know. It's right here. 51.4.
Yeah, I thought it was high too.
Yeah, it's not as high as the blue.
Right.
Blue's higher than that, but it's really good too.
But blues is another one, good one you can find, and if you see it in the bar, I have no idea what it would go for a glass, but I think that's another good dram. If you've not had it before, absolutely give yourself a pour of that.
Okay.
For sure. Next one, which I think most people will agree with, is Bushmill 21 year.
Oh, absolutely.
That's good juice. Zach, I'm doing
Delicious.
this for you. Only you.
you drinking a proper 12?
No, you're not.
Oh,
What's up?
yeah. Zach did.
Oh, we have a little
Zach
super chat.
Zach super chat.
Mark, have some proper 12. Ha 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 for $10. Is
Zach,
that,
I
so
love
are we
your
paying
style.
money
Real
for
funny.
Mark to drink now? We've done that before. Why?
Yeah, that got dangerous. But
That's
look
not
at that.
good.
He's drinking that. He's drinking the proper 12. He's gonna punch your face out now, right?
I feel like I've been knocked out in the ring.
There it goes.
No, I mean, all right. So I'm not like quenching. I'm not, but whatever.
So,
Thank you, Zach.
Everyone just said he paid $30 for a Blue Spot dram in DC. So that's
I believe that. Yeah.
about right. That's about right.
Man,
Oh,
so the beauty of this chat is these people have done a lot of things we're discussing that maybe you should do. So make sure you check out the chat. Hit the like and subscribe while you're at it.
Yeah, you
But-
can actually replay this. If you're watching this replay, you can change the chat to all chat and you'll see it in order here. But the chat's great. It always is. Always is. All right. Moving right along. That was number 3. Number 2, which
We're getting good now.
I
We're getting
will
high.
say
Oh.
absolutely.
We're getting high.
And this is like butter. Middleton, very rare.
That is so fine.
And I think you actually brought a bottle of this.
that is the finest whiskey.
Um,
So
Yes.
let's
That
talk
is
about it a
amazing.
wee bit, though.
They do a different release on this one every year.
Yes.
COVID may have changed that. I'm not sure about those. 2019 is the last one I have, but I've heard this described as the Johnny Walker Blue of Irish whiskey. If it's a good Irish bar and you're looking to spend a little more money on your drink, they probably have a bottle of this.
But I would argue this. So Johnny Blue is nice and smooth and tame and
And so
really exquisite.
Yeah.
But this has more flavor though. This is more interesting if I remember right than Johnny Walker Blue.
Right, but for a higher dollar Irish whiskey that you're probably going to stumble across at some point, that's the comparison there.
Yes, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
there are definitely other bottles that fall into that high dollar category, but
So there are.
it's something you're going to be able to actually get your
Yeah,
hands on.
yeah, because they release it every year, and it's not a small release necessarily. It's a pretty big release.
But they do different.
Hey, Mark, you got a new super chat. Drink
You gotta
something nice now.
Drink something nice. He
I can
says.
do that. If this were open, I would drink this nice.
Let me
But
see that bottle.
Let me
open
ask
that.
you.
Don't open it.
Don't.
Oh, he's opening it.
So, like
What?
I think I mentioned this to the people here before. I generally buy one or two bottles every year of these.
I mean,
One-
okay,
one
if you're
to drink
opening.
and one
So-
one to
but-
save, but I somehow ended up with 4 of the 2019s. So
I got to tell you, and so I'm not going to dispute what you're saying about the difference between this and the comparison to Johnny Walker, but that is one thing that has always jumped out to me about Middleton Very Rare is just, and I hate to use the S word, it is one of the most smoothest, lightest
It is.
whiskeys that you'll ever get. Now there are variations. They said there's year variations, but there's also a Crockett one, I think.
So they've done a few. I don't know if it's still a very rare. Where's that? Yeah. So this is the Middleton's Barry Crockett. It was a tribute to their master distiller Barry Crockett, and I think you can still find these if in limited supply in places. It's another very good bottle.
So Eric, you say $200. I think it's more than $200, my friend.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, we missed it earlier. The Bushmills 21 was around $350. I think the Middleton's right there with it. So they're not cheap bottles for sure.
Yeah, the Middleton's is 270 is what I came up with earlier when I was looking around.
Okay.
And then
Rare.
Okay.
The Barry Crockett is 300 plus.
Gotcha. Okay. And I would imagine you're probably getting up there on the pour me a dram at the bar too.
Yeah, I mean the Middleton's is something you have a fair chance of finding at a high end bar. The Barry Crockett is one I don't know that I've ever seen in a bar, but I was able to get a hold of one at one point at least.
Nice. Very nice.
High-end whiskey bars will probably have it, but you're talking about those whiskey bars that have 2,000 to 4,000 bottles of whiskey on them. You know what I mean? They
Oh my
exist.
gosh.
Your Jack Rose and DC stuff like that.
Oh, it's
Thank you for sharing
apple.
this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really
That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
apples,
Whiskey
light,
is for sharing.
light
Cheers.
grain. Yeah, it's a very soft whiskey. It's definitely not a punch in the face. It's low ABV, so it's not gonna
40%.
kick you. Yeah.
My goodness.
My wife's got a bottle or two of these on the bar. She really likes these
There's
ones.
so much perfume going on too, is aroma wise. Just
You
so
know-
Martin, how are you doing on your blind tasting? Have you picked your winner yet? We haven't seen a chat for a while, I don't think.
I gotta say, for 40% ABV, there's definitely a bouquet of notes.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
fragrant.
It's
Very
very
fragrant.
fragrant, very floral. There's apples on it, some honey. The palate is very similar to it. It's soft and delicate. A little bit of maltiness on it. It's a well balanced,
It's a potpourri of
refined
notes.
whiskey. Yeah,
And I know
Really
you
is.
guys have done at least one full review on the Middleton's Very Rare before. Do you
We
remember
have,
what
yeah, I
year
think we
that
did.
was?
It was a long time ago.
Oh, it was probably
Tom will
6
tell you
years
the
ago.
minute here.
17 or 18, I
Yeah,
think. Man, is it soft though.
it is. It's delicate.
I mean,
And
do
a
you,
so-
do you guys see a lot of difference in the years? I mean, if it's been a
Oh,
while,
I
maybe you
don't-
don't remember, but
I don't
No,
remember,
I
but I
couldn't
would.
tell
I would.
you.
This does remind me. You probably are right. This is the Johnny Walker Blue because it's light, delicate, refined. It's not going to punch you in
Mm.
any way.
Really late
So-
finish. I get a very soft vanilla, sugar sweet vanilla.
This is a dram,
No.
just like Johnny Walker Blue. This is a dram that you pour to appreciate. You need to let it sit for a while, but you don't want to complicate it with eating something or mixing it. You just want to. You're drinking this for what it is, and because you know it's going to be subtle. You know you have to appreciate it, so you have to go in there with kind of the thought process of I want to dissect this. I want to have time with this and really get into it.
Yeah,
right?
I don't want to eat a bunch of
Appreciate
Thai
it.
food and try this.
No.
No.
It's not gonna give you huge.
don't
deep
mix it with your chicken
flavors.
nuggets.
No,
Chicken
chicken nuggets and yeah, no.
This is subtle. It's delicate. This is a dance. Take your time. Enjoy the dram. Enjoy the subtle notes.
Agreed.
I
And
think
you-
the blue comparison is a very good
Yeah,
comparison.
you're right.
I do too.
You're
I
right.
really do. So,
Never thought about it from that point.
All right.
Martin's responded.
what did he say?
All right, both are good drams.
Both are
Sample
kick-ass,
one
dude.
is sweeter and punchier sample two.
No, we need your
What's your result,
dude.
Come on, dude.
You're killing
You're
us.
killing
with
us.
this
Which
All
is
right.
which?
Okay. So
Unblind it. Unblind
was-
it.
So that was number 2, and our number 1 is if you are, and this is a no brainer. I honestly know I'm gonna say I'm gonna let the chat.
What's
pick
your
it.
number 1?
What's your number 1, and see if it matches ours. I'm
Your
gonna
best
give you a
Irish
break because I
whiskey
think we're gonna
you've
say
ever
the same thing.
Taste or heard of? Yeah.
I think we're
No,
gonna say the
not
same
ever.
thing.
You're out in the bar. This
No.
is one you can't pass up. This
See,
is
Bob's got the right idea. Middleton's and shepherd's pie. They just go together. Like,
They do.
I could
Shepherd's
see
pie
that.
is so good. I love shepherd's pie. I'm hungry now.
prefer cottage pie. I don't want all the vegetables.
Yeah.
What?
skip the peas, but yeah.
Oh, come on.
using the box to bury a dead cat. That might be overkill.
Well, we've got some people starting to chime in now,
Mm.
so we'll see what happens. So we've got Kim saying Redbreast cast strength. We've got Tom
Well, they're
R
on to the distillery.
saying
the
Redbreast
brand.
27.
Redbreast
you gave
27.
too much information. So yeah, obviously it's Redbreast. We got Blue Spot, Redbreast 27, another one. You're right. Those are good years. You know, I'll go ahead and cheat and say it's Redbreast 21.
Is that cheating if you just
Is
tell
that
them?
cheating or
is
just
that-
telling you?
Well, I mean, cheating because you said 27. I'm like, well, it's
27 is
21.
like $1 million a bottle.
That's a lot more
21 is
expensive.
only $500,000 a
Yes.
bottle.
Right. I mean, this isn't the unicorn bottle or the best bottle we've ever had. I'm saying this is the bottle that I'm out on that pub crawl or whatever. I stumble
Holy
into.
crap! Is Redbreast 21?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's something you'll
Pour me
still
that.
find and you can still get your hands on.
and
That's
it's
the key.
really flipping ass good.
It's so
It
good.
Really is.
That's
so
just
good.
it. I mean, it's expensive, yeah, but it's worth
Don't,
it.
don't end your night with it. You want to start your night with that one.
Oh yeah.
Eh,
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree.
I guess your point is you're already kind of worn out and you're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
but you're more apt
if-
to spend the
it's not
money
your
on it
12th
at the
drink
end
of
of the
the
night.
Yes,
Yeah, if
true.
you're kicking off your time, go to the bar and say, I need a round of Redbreast 21.
Oh, there's Martin's
That's,
notes. We're
that's
done.
a great way to kick the night off. And then
We nailed it.
What'd you say?
1 is Blue Spot, 2 is Redbreast cast strength. Yep.
I would
Yeah.
have thought I would have picked the blue spot. So now I'm going to get some backup. Ah,
Yeah, you're right.
indeed, you are.
So you definitely need a backup of that if you like it that much. Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, the guesses weren't bad either. So Kim said something like Redbreast 12 cast strength. Absolutely, we bought a bottle of that for this show. The 27 haven't been able to swing the price on that one, and it's
So
gone
expensive.
nothing but north.
What's
since
it
the
going
first
for
time.
now?
The first time I saw it was 475, and now it's north of 6. It's really good
So you're talking $100 a dram for that easy.
at a bar. yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Now, if we were going unicorn bottles or bottles of the best Irish whiskey that I think I've ever had, you know, the ones that are the most memorable, right? There are some bottles out there that are just stand out, and it's probably because I don't have that much experience with them. It's not like I stumble into these kinds of bottles every day.
Yeah.
But the first one, and you actually have this bottle, is that Jameson. That was a unique bottle. I think I've been blessed to have a few
Jameson?
dram of it because Patrick he purchased one for his father for his wedding.
Is that carbon fiber?
It
looks like
I
it.
don't believe it's carbon fiber.
So I had a chance to have a dram of it then, and then you had another one, I think, right?
I think this is my second bottle of it.
Right, and so
Which
It's very
one is that?
special to you and your family. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this bottle.
Jameson what? What's the?
It's the vintage reserve. I don't think there's an age statement to it.
Oh, okay.
Officially, but they discontinued this bottle several years ago. I was able to grab a few of them when I was traveling. A liquor store had 2 of them. I bought, like you said, he bought my one for my dad for his wedding. There were too many people there that day to open it.
Mhm.
I think
Oh,
we opened
yeah.
it for my grandfather's 85th birthday,
That's so cool.
and then my dad and I finished it when Grandpa passed.
Okay.
yeah, I remember the
this
funeral.
this bottle I have now pretty much only gets opened for weddings, funerals, and
Special.
births.
and babies.
Yeah.
special
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was buying these bottles. They were a little over 300 at the time I was buying them. I regret not buying more of them when I had the opportunity. And I think there was one in an auction when I was checking prices earlier. There was $3,000.
Mm.
Jameson Rarest
Wow.
Vintage Reserve.
I do have one
Wow.
regret is there was a rosewood box they did that I was never able to get a hold of because it was really pretty.
Yeah.
Especially being a woodworker, right? You got a wood shop. That would have been the one that fit. The other bottle that really just made a mark on me was that Bushmills Millennium bottle.
Oh, good Lord.
I don't even remember
That's
the age
Tom.
statement
Is that
on
the Tom R bottle?
Tamara, yeah. So
Oh
that
my
was
God.
I see
bottled.
the original bottle.
That was
So that was
amazing.
that was bottled. It was bottled for the millennium, but it was barreled 25 years early.
No, it was only like 12. It was 19. It was 19 years old. It was
Okay.
Bushmills 19. Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. Tom R had given us this bottle, and it was bottled for the millennium, and it came in sort of like a cardboard flexible sleeve, almost paper type
Yeah,
sleeve.
yeah.
It didn't. There wasn't like a lot
Well,
of
that was before
show
the
and pomp and stance
fanciness,
for it,
yeah.
but it was just one of those whiskeys that you tasted and you were like, what?
It was 25 years old.
It was.
Yeah. So
Get it
so
right,
Tom
Mark.
said.
Come on.
It was.
That's what I thought.
It was bomb whiskey.
Yeah.
It was.
It was really good.
So it was like 1975, bottled for 2000.
So
Like
it was the Jameson that was, because he gave us 2 Millennium bottles, and that the Jameson was younger. It was the 14 or 19 or something. But
that was 85 or something like that.
yeah. But that Bushmills Millennium Bushmills was.
That is,
honestly,
yeah, it's uncomparable, really. I gotta try that one and I actually tried both of them, but that one was definitely a standout. And Bushmills has never really been my brand. It was Grandpa's brand. I remember that distinctly, but it always felt like it came in harsher in the Irish whiskey flavors. It came in stronger and hotter, and I
more kick. Yeah.
I tended more towards the Jameson line.
Interesting. Yeah.
that one particular whiskey, it stands out as one of the top whiskeys I've ever had. I mean, it was really that good. It was like, holy shnikes. And then all of a sudden, you're like, well, she's gone. Right?
She's gone.
Got a chance
She's
to
gone.
love her,
Yeah.
right? But those are the ones and if you ever see that in a whiskey bar, yeah, you got to buy that. But you probably are not going to see that in a whiskey bar.
Well, gentlemen, interesting show. I think, honestly, I'm very happy with the top fives. I think most people are. What do you think about, like, overall? Did we miss anything? Is there anything that we're missing from our list tonight that we're like, oh, we forgot this? Like, I mean, Redbreast's been a showing. Tullamore, Bushmills. I mean, Jameson. Are we missing anything? I mean, those are kind of the big hitters, right?
I mean, we could spend a month getting into the Middleton's lineup. if we
Probably.
really wanted to.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I mean, not missing, but I want to say that I'm excited to see where it's going, because there are a lot of distilleries that are literally up and coming and they aren't even bottling stuff yet. And I'm excited to see a boom of Irish whiskey, because obviously, whiskey's a very long, steeped heritage in Ireland.
She says Irish cream, DB by the way. So I think your point's valid. Obviously brown liquor in general has upped their game in general, right? As far as, we're getting into American single malt, obviously bourbon, Scotch is
Craft
our favorite.
distilleries.
Irish is you mentioned it earlier about, from the last few years with the whole British and Europe, all the things happening. But I think Irish is really starting to put the pedal down on the gas, if you will, as far as experimenting.
Dude.
You opening that?
Like I said, it gets opened for weddings and funerals and babies. And my sister had a baby this morning. So,
well, then that's a special occasion.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
true. Caitlin, welcome to Miss Rory.
I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's great.
His sister had a baby. So,
We have one more super chat I want to say hi to real quick.
I got to let this sit for a hot second. Now I got to give this its time and attention.
Yeah, I need to rinse
Thank
my
you.
glass and make sure it's clean.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Irish whiskey. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Tomorrow, I hope you all have a safe and a very fun St. Patrick's Day.
Enjoy. Hopefully, you find some of the whiskeys,
Yeah,
Irish
yeah,
whiskeys
right.
on our list.
Yeah, right.
So used to
Even
saying
spell it
scotches.
with an E.
Yeah.
But if you're getting an early start, you might get to bed. Otherwise, hope you guys have a great day and happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope everybody gets into it.
Let me pour this
Irish
first.
whiskey. Yeah. So Patrick's sharing this special bottle with us. We're going to get into this.
Yep.
That's the beauty of these whiskeys. Once you've learned to appreciate whiskey, you don't need much of it to get to appreciate it.
I want to get into it. I want to see what it has to offer.
Patrick, thanks so much for everything you've done so far with the signs and being a guest tonight. It's been
Right?
great. I'd love to have you
Absolutely.
back. Do some more.
Yeah,
This is fun.
your experience with Irish was really helpful tonight.
He brought a shit ton of Irish whiskey.
Yeah,
too.
it's-
I mean,
the after party patron's going to be epic. So see you
hope
soon.
to see you there. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Love ya.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
3, 2, 1.